Ashland University Journalism and Digital Media Department. I'm Cade Crackerster alongside head coach Doug Geiser. Coach, a great week for you. You guys went 1-0 this past week.
Yes, we did. Had a chance to retain the traveling trophy and start out 1-0 in the conference. And so it was good all the way around.
Yeah, when you take a look at that game, obviously a big thing for you guys is now 2-1 on the season. Talk a little bit about that record that you guys have and able to piece together some wins here early in the year.
Well, for us, the first quarter were the two out-of-conference games, and you try to play some of the best teams in the country. You try to win games during there. The last 2 years, we came out of that first quarter 0-2. So starting out 1-1 this year, it adds a little extra juice to things as you get into the second quarter of the season, which is a home game followed by 2 away games. And so we started that second quarter 1-0. And it's a great feeling to be at.
Yeah, and you talk about that mindset, playing in a rivalry game, trying to bring back the traveling trophy. What's that like for you guys, and how do you kind of rally the troops to get the job done?
You make them really conscious of what that rivalry means. As we talked about, you talk about the history. Every day of practice, we would have somebody that's been involved in that rivalry as a player or a coach explain what that game has meant to them and their memories from that. So they have a pretty good idea of what it means to Ashland Nation as a whole, the alums, the boosters, and that sort of thing. And in the pregame, I challenge the players to stand on the shoulders of those who've come before them and feel their spirit, feel their energy, and have that help propel them to a victory on Saturday. It helped.
Yeah, and you talk about an atmosphere of Jack Miller Stadium. You're always very excited to be back at home. What was that like?
It was tremendous. We love our fans, the energy, and having our band there, and we had a good number of recruits as well. Saw a lot of friendly faces came back because they wanted to see us play against Hillsdale and see us play at home. So the energy was off the charts, and I know our guys definitely fed off of that.
Yeah, we got an exciting episode coming your guys' way here. We got episode 4 of year 3, so we're trugging along at this point in time. Who do we got coming on the show today?
Well, we have our corners coach, Donzel Ashley. We have a safety, Izzy Vasquez, and we have our quarterback, Cam Blair.
Should be a great episode. Well, we'll step aside. We'll join you back here soon. We've got our Hillsdale recap and our traveling trophy recap coming your way here soon. Don't go anywhere. You're watching the Doug Geiser Show, year 3, episode 4, right here on the Eagle Network.
Welcome back here to the Doug Geiser Show, Year 3, Episode 4. I'm WRDL correspondent Louis Tamira.
And I'm AUTV correspondent Bryce Gatton.
We're sitting here with the star of the show, Coach. We've got a couple of questions just kind of to recap this past week against Hillsdale. So let's just get things started with QB play. You know, obviously a great week for Cam Blair. Cam Blair, thank you for joining us here tonight. You looked incredible this week. As far as, you know, the offense as a whole, how have you shifted to now having a dual threat type of quarterback?
Well, it's something we had worked with during the spring. Just kind of testing out to see what Cam's skill set was. We kind of knew going into it, and so now it's just a matter of putting it into fruition. What are we taking to? You know, what's not fitting? So I think you've seen some growth out of that, the offensive group as a whole, the first 3 weeks, and a lot of that has been with the progression of Cam Blair.
Cool.
Now, DJ Harvey was a big playmaker for you guys this past week from the inside. What can you attest to kind of his work ethic and how he's gotten so good at being able to make big plays for you guys?
Well, I think he's definitely got his father and his uncle's work ethic. You know, DJ's a legacy. His father, Dewan, was a tremendous player here at AU. So was his uncle, Chris. And he's definitely a chip off the old blocks in that case. He came up here during the summer. Our voluntary summer program, he came, didn't miss a day. Came up, got a dorm, and found food for himself and worked out with us. So it started right from June. He was up here working and building a relationship with Cam and with our quarterbacks. And now you're starting to see all that work come to fruition.
And the offensive line was really good. They only gave up 1 sack on Cam Blair. How important is it to win that battle up front in the trenches on a week-to-week basis?
It's huge. It's huge. And having a lot of experience, especially the multi-looks that Hillsdale can give you, the multi-blitz looks. They've been there. There's not a lot that they haven't seen that they wouldn't be able to adjust to. So that familiarity more than anything else really helps in those situations.
All right, and then moving on to this defense, let's start with that line. In the first half, things are a little slow, not that much pressure, but then come out in the second half, you have, about 5 sacks? Just what was that defense, adjustment at that halftime break?
Well, I think part of it was in the first half they were running the ball a little bit more. They weren't attempting passes. And then once we were able to get on top of them a little bit and kind of dictate that they needed to throw the ball down the field a little bit, now we're able to unleash the pass rush at that point. So I think it was just a matter of playing to whatever the strengths or whatever the defense was running up to, or the offense was running up to that point, kind of predicated how we'd react to it.
And then, defense as a whole, rather than just looking at the line, you held Hillsdale to 9 points. That's a pretty good feat. And, you talked about shutting down their passing game. Who do you give credit to on that defensive side of the ball?
I would say not to straddle the line. I'd say it's a group effort.
Yeah.
When you have a great pass rush, you don't have to cover as long. And when you have good cover guys in the back end, it allows you now to cover guys up a little longer, allows you maybe an extra fraction of a second to get to the quarterback. So I think it's a combination of all 3 levels working together there. And right now, that group, our pass rush has really shown up, and our coverage has really shown up in the first 2 weeks.
Absolutely.
Now, you guys started GMAC play obviously with Hillsdale. How important is it for you guys to get off that early 1-0 start, especially coming off being champs last year?
Well, we have our goals set for the end of the season, but really we don't look long term right now at this point. Cade's going to kill me, but it truly is 1-0 every week. It is. And so we were able to be successful last week. We won the game, the only game that was on our docket. Now we turned the page, we made the corrections. Now we're on to a very, very tough Northwood team this week.
And then we got to wrap it up. You played Hillsdale. It's the notorious traveling trophy game. Tell us what that means from a coaching and team standpoint, to keep that trophy at home, and what does it mean to the team as a whole?
Well, the feedback I got leading into the game and after the game, the texts, the phone calls, the emails, congratulations. I know if you talk to somebody like a Ralph Tomasi, who's been an Ashland Eagle for over 40 years, and he will flat out tell me every Sunday morning he's going to the paper first to find out what the score of the game is if he wasn't there. So I know there are a lot of Eagle alums doing the same thing, fans of the Eagles doing the same thing, and that game with its tradition, that's a red letter game you put on the calendar, and people are interested in that outcome because they want the bragging rights.
All right, well, thank you, Coach. We'll move on here soon. Shifting focus. Don't go anywhere. You're watching the Doug Geiser Show right here on the Eagle Network.
What's up, GMAC fans? I'm Katie Gahuli, host of the Talkin' GMAC podcast. We hope you'll join us each week for all things GMAC, from interviews with current and former student athletes to headlines and highlights from around the league. Find the Talkin' GMAC podcast on the Great Midwest Digital Network or wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back to the Doug Geiser Show, Year 3, Episode 4, brought to you by the Ashland University Journalism and Digital Media Department. I'm Cade Krakus, joined alongside Coach Geiser, and now quarterback Cam Blair. Cam, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely, thank you.
Yeah, it's great having you on here. So first and foremost, talk about this victory in the Traveling Trophy matchup against Hillsdale. Your initial thoughts on how the team played?
Yeah, Hillsdale's a real tough team. They're always going to play tough, and we were just lucky enough, I guess, to go in there, and our preparation really showed when we went out and played the game.
Yeah, you talk about going out there and playing the game comfortably. You did that from start to finish. I mean, just the ability to pass the ball down the field, go short, run the ball with your legs. That's what got you guys on the board first was the rushing attempt. How do you keep yourself in the space of being a dual threat quarterback?
Yeah, we really this week want to focus on starting fast. We dedicate some time in practice to starting fast, and we know if we can get out to it fast, our only thing it's going to do is help the rest of the team. If we can continue to do that, continue to grow on being able to start fast and get points early, it's just going to make us a better team as a whole.
Yeah, and Coach Geiser, you looked at what Cam was able to do in that first half, and I talked to you at halftime. You were very impressed with what he was doing. You just got to go out there and finish the job. Well, he did that. Your thoughts on Cam's performance?
Yeah, I thought more than anything, I thought the coaching staff did a great job getting him in a comfort zone. Okay, playing to his strengths early on, especially easy throws to build confidence. But also get him a chance. First play of the game, he had the option to tuck it and run.
Yeah.
Off of zone read. So doing those things to get him in a comfort level, get him going, that only helps the offense as a whole as you branch out and start throwing the ball downfield.
Yeah, and Cam, one thing for you is, this is the first real chance for you here in your senior season to go out there and make this team your own. How have you done that through the first 3 weeks or so?
Yeah, just trying to do my job. You can't expect to go out there and do more than what you need to do to win the game. And allowing other players on the field to do their job to be able to win the game as well, and just be able to do your job and focus on your job, and then let everything else fall the way it falls.
Yeah, and Coach Geiser, when we've talked in times past, one of the funny things that we always talked about was how you helped recruit Cam and bring him here, and so that's why I've been so infatuated by his game and his ability to lead. Seeing him in high school to where he is now, how have you seen his growth over time?
Yeah, I tell you what, I've known about Cam since his freshman year in high school. I didn't know if you knew about that, Coach Gamble had kind of, at that point, was talking about you at that point, and just kind of following the progress. The thing that really impressed me about Cam, and you have the physical ability, yeah, but it was the leadership traits and the ability to raise the level of his team.
Yeah.
And he took a high school program, Sandy Valley, which wasn't really used to going to the playoffs and competing at that level. Mm-hmm. And being a 4-year starter, he raised the level and the profile of the program. So much so that when he left, they still expected to go to the playoffs and win. Yeah. So he changed the whole trajectory of the program, and those things like that are special. And it reminded me a little bit of Travis Tarnowski doing the same thing at North Royalton. So that's kind of what ultimately led to us, offering him. And I will say, as Coach Stacy did a tremendous job recruiting him throughout, and it was kind of a team effort in that respect.
Yeah, and can we talk about the ability to go out there and do your guys' game against Hillsdale? The rivalry against Hillsdale for the Traveling Trophy. What is that rivalry like? Did the coaches kind of tell you guys all about what that rivalry really is?
Yeah, it starts on Sunday. After last week after Indy, we were already talking about what's next and what the expectations are for that game. During the week, we also brought up former players that are now coaches to talk about their experience playing the game and how important this game is to not just the players on the field, but also the alumni who played in it as well.
Yeah, and speaking of those alumni, obviously you guys are going out there and able to get that win. What does it mean to be able to pay back, for the generations of those people that came before you?
Yeah, that's huge. We want to be able to honor our history and honor the people that have played before us. And with Coach Geiser talking about all the texts he received, how much it still means to those people multiple years later. So we were really, fortunate enough to go out and do that.
Yeah, and I haven't even been able to talk to you about, the IUP game even. For you guys and you able to lead the team in the first game of the season to pull off a victory. How awesome is it to be able to start a year with a win like that and then also followed up 2 weeks later the win against Hillsdale?
Yeah, it just comes down to, our preparation, like I said, and our work ethic and our training over camp. We were pushed hard during camp, and that's what we needed. And like I said, just being able to do your job, really, and trusting in what the coaches are doing for you, and be able to get the job done.
And Coach Geiser, how do you make sure that your QB1 here goes out there every single game and does the best job possible?
Well, the first thing we do is on our Mondays, that's our big prep day. It's a player's day off. And so whenever we put an offensive game plan together, the most important question is, okay, how does this fit with our quarterback skill set? Because if the plays that we look good against the opposing team don't fit what our skill set is, then we're probably not going to run them.
Yeah.
So everything's got to be fit towards what he does well, and everything kind of flows from that. So it's always in the forefront of our mind, no matter who the quarterback was. If it's Trevor Brzezinski, it's the same thing. If it's Austin Brenner, Travis Tarnowski. The trick in that is you find a good combination of what works well against the opponent, but also things we do well. So that's the trick of it. That's the essence of coaching in this case.
Yeah, and speaking of some of those longtime quarterbacks before and those legends, Cam, is that all bringing any pressure on it, having to follow up these guys like that and be that next starting quarterback?
Yeah, I think, just thinking about the guys I was here with, Austin Brenner and Trevor, even you can throw Trent in there too, the way they were able to, teach me when I was younger and just be able to get me ready for when it was my time to go, because they knew it was coming eventually. And the way they were able to prepare me for each week was huge.
Well, that's awesome. And, how do you keep this momentum moving forward, especially with that great game you got against Hillsdale?
Yeah, just got to move on. Start tomorrow with another good day of practice and go one day at a time. And eventually Saturday's going to come around. Hopefully we get the job done.
Perfect, Cam. Well, thanks for joining me.
Yep, thank you.
We'll step aside, join you back here soon. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Doug Geiser Show, year 3, episode 4, right here on the Eagle Network.
To the Great Midwest Athletic Conference, where greatness is achieved from heart-stopping moments to incredible teamwork and unyielding determination. This is more than a conference. It's a community of excellence where academic success meets athletic prowess and future leaders are forged. The Great Midwest Athletic Conference. Building character through competition.
Welcome back to the Doug Geiser Show, Year 3, Episode 4, brought to you by the Ashland University Journalism and Digital Media Department. I'm Kate Krackisher alongside Coach Geiser, and now Coach Ashley. Coach Ashley, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's good to have you on here. You know, first and foremost, your thoughts on the win against Hillsdale.
Overall, I thought it was a great team performance. I thought the guys came out high energy, of course, because of the traveling trophy. So it was just good to see all those guys out there flying around, and obviously the crowd as well too. So overall, I was happy with the performance.
Yeah, you know, and Coach Geiser gave me this question, so I'll ask it. What's it like, coaching in the traveling trophy matchup and then also playing in it?
As long as you win, that's the biggest thing, man. So playing in it, it was a great time. Obviously, taking that trophy from Hillsdale and bringing it back, and now being a coach and hosting the trophy and keeping it here. So it's a great feeling.
You ever get that mentality when you're out there and you're like, I wish I could go out there and play right now?
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
You talk about the first 3 games this season. The defensive backs have been great. You know, addressing their play. What have been your thoughts?
The biggest thing is we keep preaching to them. We got to continue to get better each and every week. We're never satisfied, which is good, because now you see the guys are constantly trying to push each other, and so we have been happy with their performance, but we know that they can still continue to get better.
Of course. And Coach Geiser, you brought back Coach Ashley, I think it was 2 years ago now, right? And his ability to kind of go from that player to the coaching side of things. How have you seen him adapt it and grow over time?
He's done a tremendous job, and Donzel does a great job building relationships with players, and he plays upon his strength, which is he's been a player recently. Yeah. So he knows, he can relate to them, he knows what they're going through, and a lot of times he speaks their language, where I might not be able to relate as well. And so that's a great thing. And then the other thing is he has a great knowledge of the technical part of the game and how to teach that, because he's been there, and he can take what, kind of the book learning and adapt it to what actually works on the field, and has a lot of credibility doing that. So it's been a great addition for us, not to mention the fact he's steeped in the culture, he knows what the program's about. So when he talks to a recruit about what Ashland football is all about, he's been there, done that, he's lived it. And it comes off very sincere, and it's real. And that's the best way to recruit, is being real, and it's been a great asset, having him on staff. Yeah,
and Coach Ashley too, I got to ask you, I've asked almost every coach about this, but how do you game plan, with the aspect of you guys being in 5 different states in 5 different games, or in 5 different weeks? You look at that, that's got to be tough to say, all right, we're at home one time, but now we're away in all these other 4 ones.
Well, we keep preaching, just being road warriors. That's the biggest thing is we like to take on challenges, and I think our guys just love to pretty much take it on. They don't look at it as, we got to go over here, we got to go to this state, that state. I think overall, they do enjoy being able to, miss a day of class so they can go play a game. So, but overall though, we love it, we embrace it, and so do the players.
Of course, and another big aspect to your guys' game for the first couple of weeks is forcing turnovers, getting those interceptions. How important is that for the defense?
Very important. Last year we finished, I believe, with 14 total turnovers, I think it was interceptions. Yeah. But we wanted to pretty much amp up that standard in the back end. So we just wanted to make sure we continue to keep this going. And I think the biggest thing is guys just want to make plays and have fun making plays. So yeah.
And Coach Geiser, I think that's a big thing for you to, I haven't asked you about that yet, but turnovers has been big for your guys' defense as of the start of the year. And another thing too is third down percentage. You guys rank number 1 in the country right now on that mark. How important is it to see that come out each game for the defense?
There are certain stats that mean more than others as you break down a football game. Yeah. And all the analytics, I guess, is what it's called nowadays. One of the biggest predictors of winning percentage is turnover margin. So it's not only just gathering the turnovers on defense, it's protecting the football on offense. And so that as a whole is key. And there's stats out there, if you win the turnover battle, you're going to win X number of times more than you would lose. So that's huge for us right there. And then third downs, and you preach, getting off the field on third down and continuing the drive on third down. It's a lot of times it's a morale booster if you get them off the field. And it's also a morale hit if they can able to continue to drive. So it's huge. It's huge. Both those stats are things that we track, and we practice them on the field during practice. We got ball security circuits, we got turnover circuits, and then when we go good on good at the end of practice against the team, a lot of times it's third downs. And and the defense is running what they run on third down, the offense is running what they run, you compete, and there's a winner and there's a loser. Yeah. And we did that, especially emphasize it during training camp. So it's been key. It's nice to see us, have confirmation that we're on the right track by performing those situations, because we set aside practice time to really emphasize that.
Yeah, Coach Ashley, you look at this game coming this week, it's up against Northwood. What do you guys see in Northwood right now? What are you going to hope to see from the defense?
Overall, I think they're a very talented team. I think going into their house, for the most part, they will be ready to play us. And I think overall, we just have to continue to play our game. I always preach to the guys that it doesn't matter who we play, it's about how we play. And again, it's just, we have to be ready for that challenge. Northwood is a good team. They're going to be hyped up. They're going to be jumping around and just ready to play. So I think overall we just have to be ready, stay focused, and just continue to play the game we've been playing.
Yeah, so. And you guys have had a lot of different defensive backs step up this year. Any more you're telling Eagle Nation to stay on the lookout for?
So far, Damian Johnson, he's stepped up big time. He's a redshirt freshman this year. He's coming along on special teams as well too. So just high hopes for him, man. He's a kid that's been working very hard, so very proud of him. But again, we just want to continue to push each other so we continue to get better. So.
Of course. Well, Coach, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we'll step aside, join you back here soon. We've got another player interview coming your way. Don't go anywhere. You're watching the Doug Geiser Show, Year 3, Episode 4, right here on the Eagle Network.
Budget, save, invest. A plan to help you make smart retirement choices today. Your future self will thank you.
This ad has been provided by Donald M. Graham and Associates, where our dedicated team will help you meet life's complex financial challenges. Call today to schedule your visit at 1-800-322-6116. Securities and advisory services are offered through Commonwealth Financial Network, member FINRA SIPC.
Welcome back to the Doug Geiser Show, Year 3, Episode 4. I'm Cade Krakus alongside Coach Geiser. Now Izzy Vasquez. Thanks for joining me. First and foremost, we've talked about it with everybody, the game against Hillsdale. Your thoughts?
I found it was my first time get to be a part of that rivalry, and knowing the trophy was on the line, so for the coaches and the players, I wanted to do my best to give that back to them and keep that streak going.
And you talk about that rivalry. I like to ask everyone about it. What does it mean to you? How did the coaches really instill such a deep-rooted passion for it?
I think the best thing they did was bring past players to show us how that game felt to them.
Yeah.
And it just gave us more of like a reason and like a why, because everything's a why, and I think that was the biggest thing was to bring that back.
Yeah, and you talk about the first 3 games for Ashland so far, 2 wins, a loss. What is, not only the wins taught you guys, but the losses as well?
The losses taught us that we could stay composed after a loss. I think that was one of the biggest things. Our defense didn't shut down no matter what. So I think that was one of the biggest things that was brought from the loss. And then that we won't give up, During the game, our defense didn't give up, our offense didn't give up, no matter what the score was.
Yeah.
So I think even being up and down during the game, we showed that to teams on film.
And Coach, what have you seen from Izzy so far from his game this year?
The biggest thing I've seen from Izzy is leadership. You can tell he has a calming effect on the secondary. And he's been in college football for a bit. He comes to us, in his last year, and it's been a blessing for us. We got hit hard by graduation in the secondary, especially at safety. And to have a guy that's played college football, understands how to prepare, understands the game, have that kind of calmness back there to kind of keep the young guys all corralled and headed in the right direction has been a blessing for us.
Yeah, Izzy, I think a big thing too for you is the defense being led by a defensive coordinator and a guy like Tim Rose. What's that been like?
I love Coach Rose. He wants the best out of everybody. We teach BIA, best in America. So I think that was one of the greatest things I've heard being here. And then we expect more than good, great. We want to be legendary. So he preaches that every single day from the coaching staff to us. So but with the coaching staff teaching us, we teach the youngins, and being a senior to a freshman. And they're going to teach the generation after them. So I think it's a blessing.
Yeah, another thing too that makes Ashland special is Jack Miller Stadium. What was that like playing in this traveling trophy game?
I loved it. Actually, that was kind of one of my first home games.
Okay.
The school I came from previously, our home game was like 30 minutes away.
Interesting.
So it's hard to get fans there, but I had a blast being there.
That's awesome.
It was a blessing.
And that's something Coach Geiser talks about every week is Jack Miller Stadium. You guys have a lot of road games though, especially to start the year. Four of the first 5 games are on the road. How have you guys weathered the storm and realized, okay, we might not be in front of our home crowd, we still got to go out there and win?
I think our coaching staff has probably helped us the best with that, especially as our older guys teaching the youngins. It's a business trip, so I think it's still good for them too to be able to play a lot of these first home away games from the start to build that, to show on the road. And I think we're probably going to be a better team because of these away games. Because playoffs, you never know you're going to play.
Yeah,
so I think that's truly good.
And too, a big thing for you guys, is forcing turnovers. How have you been impressed to see what the guys alongside of you have been able to do so far in that regard?
Being a safety, that's been a blessing from the turnovers to the sacks to everything. Yeah. There's so many plays I've seen we're out there covering and the ball just drops.
Yeah.
So I think that's great. We keep track of all that in practice. So I think it starts in the practice and in the film room and things we do. So yeah.
Any players that you're really enjoying being alongside? Any guys you like to have out there in the backroom with you?
Yeah, Jaden. He's from the same area as me, Jaden Jimenez.
Yeah.
He's I'm happy he's here. He's made it easy. And then I say Chaz. He's the freshman under me, free safety. So we like to teach each other because he's been here longer. So he'll tell me things about the defense, and then as a senior and me knowing football, I'll help him out too.
That's awesome. Coach Geiser, you might be able to shed more light on this, but you had a funny storyline with him and Coach Ashley.
Yeah, and from the recruiting portion of it, Izzy was looking for a home last year, and if I'm not mistaken, you guys went to the same high school.
Yeah.
And Coach Ashley had known Izzy growing up, from what I understand, and they obviously knew Coach Ashley and the legend of Coach Ashley.
Yeah.
At your high school there, and I think more than anything else, a lot of what we do here builds on relationships.
Of course.
And keeping things real. And I know Izzy told me that was one of the major reasons he came here, because there's a comfort level in a guy he trusts from his home, even though it's clear across the country. And also having Jaden here, they can talk real with him. Is this like home? Is it, am I going to fit in here? And those things matter. Those things matter. You get past that, and then you also start looking at the university, look at the football program as a whole. Now it creates that fit. But I think it all everything there basically stemmed from the trust you would have had in Coach Ash, coming from home and knowing he was here and he spoke well of the place. But I think it was a great starting point in the recruiting.
Yeah, and obviously you have that first initial trust with Coach Ashley. Then you come and see Ashland. What made you decide, hey, I want to call Ashland home this year?
This guy right here, man.
I love
Coach Geiser, me and him had a great meeting, just one-on-one, and I just feel like having a head coach who just knows everything about everybody is a blessing, because that's not everywhere, and people might assume it is, but it's not. I just think him caring about his team and him loving football was a great thing to be a part of.
That's awesome. And my final question for you, momentum's a big thing. You guys are 2-1 right now, got the win, got the traveling trophy back, got to win in front of Jack Miller Stadium. How do you guys keep this going against Northwood?
It's going to start with the same thing we got, being the best in America. So we'll continue that, being dominant on both ends of the field.
Perfect. Well, thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you. You too.
Yeah. We'll step aside, join you back here soon. We've got our Q&A segment coming up next, so make sure to stay tuned to that coming your way here on the Eagle Network. Welcome back to the Doug Geiser Show, Year 3, Episode 4. I'm Cade Krakus, now joined alongside Coach Geiser. Coach Geiser, it's time for our question and answer segment section. So, the first one I've got for you, which younger players have stood out to you so far in the campaign?
I would say, first, if you look on the offensive side of the ball, DJ Harvey. DJ Harvey kind of had a coming out party against UIndy and continued this past week, and is fast becoming a very trusted receiver for Cam Blair. And it's been nice to add him to the mix with Jamari Kroom and Gent Joseph. That's been a good thing for us there. I'd say defensively, I think you look at in the back end, a Dre Arnold, or you look at the front end, or Ryan Zywick, guys that have had we had a lot of experience back on that side of the ball.
Yeah.
But they've had to step up into roles which they might not have had before. A Damian Johnson the same way, a Chaz Cole. So on that side, maybe not guys that are starting, but guys that are giving key minutes and playing on special teams. So those are some names that would come to mind.
Yeah, and a question that we had coming from online is, when it talks about the quarterback position, what led to Cam Blair, who we had on the show here today, being named the starting quarterback?
He won the competition in the spring.
Yeah.
And throughout camp, we didn't name a quarterback at the end of spring. We kept the competition going to kind of keep, he and Drew's feet to the fire. But, he basically let his ability show through. And he's obviously very well steeped in our philosophy and our system, being here in his 5th year. And I think the game has finally started to slow down for him. And he's got a natural leadership charisma about him. You can tell that just talking with him. He's very sure of himself, very confident of himself. He knows where he's going, and he's willing to lead people along the way. So it's probably that leadership charisma more than anything else is what led to that decision.
Yeah, another question we had come in from online is about the transfer side of things in 5th years. And this is more of one of those player personnel and the team chemistry side of things. How do you balance, having a guy come back or having a guy come to your program and then maybe they don't work out as well, or the playing time might not be where they want it to be? How do you balance that as a coach?
Well, first of all, we don't do a lot in the transfer portal.
Yeah.
We do some. We have to. For the good of the program, you've got to investigate. But for Ashland, we're always going to be primarily a high school-based team, and you recruit really good players and you develop them. That's what I was used to when I coached in the MAC. It's always been the tradition here at Ashland. But sometimes you have short-term needs, and you need to find some short-term solutions. So take example Izzy Vasquez, who was on the show today.
Yeah.
We had some graduation in the back end, especially at safety, and he became available. We found out about him. The biggest part is you need to vet him. And they need to be able to fit to the program. It's not the program fit to them, they got to fit to the program. And he was a fit. As you can tell, he just the way he carries himself like an Ashland man. He's been very, very talented on top of that. You look at another transfer, DJ Butler, a similar situation. And it just ended up being a good fit, in addition to also being a good player. And that's really, really important here as we look at the transfers.
Now that we've gotten the questions away from online, we got any from in-person individuals? We got a question here up front. Let me go ask it. What do you got for us?
Coach, I know you love hearing from me. No, I'm kidding. I know we've been talking about football for a while. Let me get this mic down here. As far as, what are some of your hobbies if you have free time ever?
Hobbies, well, there's not a lot of free time during the season.
All right, so let me ask you this then. If you have free time, if you get like a little free time,
if you had free time.
I do, a thing I've become better at as I get older as a coach is I do enjoy working out. Just get a chance to get away from everything, get away from everybody, find some time to go down to the weight room when there's nobody there and do some training, kind of clears the head and kind of keeps the body in good shape. But also I enjoy reading. I really enjoy reading and, just kind of getting away and studying people who have had success. I love biographies especially, and whether it doesn't even have to be coaches. I love American history. I love studying and reading about American history as well. You look at a Brian Kilmeade as somebody I really enjoy reading, Bill O'Reilly. This summer I read 11 Rings by Phil Jackson. I enjoy him. He's a lot of good insights. When you have 13 rings as a coach and a player combined, I think you got some insights on how to win at the highest level. So studying people who have done it, studying history, is things that kind of allow me to kind of decompress a little bit.
Well, you got a book right in front of you there, so where does that rank on your all-time reading list?
You know what? It ranks pretty high. The Spirit of the Team by Coach Owens, we talked about it last week. a very, very good plug there with that. But it was so good that we bought a copy for everybody on the team, and we actually read it during training camp because of the life lessons, the team lessons, the culture lessons you learn in his book. You're able to apply, and it makes it even nicer because you're reading about people from a program you're a part of, and it makes you appreciate those who've come before you even more than what we preach.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
And I actually want to kind of build off of what Lewis's question was, and it's one that I think could honestly apply to maybe your players or even younger individuals like myself who are still going through that time of growing up, I guess, if you will. But I've always found a hard balance between hobbies of like reading or running or working out, and then stuff that actually just lets you. I don't know. I don't want to use the word rot, but like let your head kind of clear for a minute. Mm-hmm. Is there anything like that you do, or do you kind of always keep yourself fluid and doing something?
I usually keep busy.
Okay.
Although there are some times where you just want to be. I understand that part of it.
I'm trying to
for me, that's like after a game.
Yeah.
I mean, really, after a game, people might be surprised to learn this. I am physically and mentally spent after a game.
Yeah, 100%.
At 3 hours. My brain is mush for about 3 hours. So I don't even attempt to do anything worthwhile for about 3 hours after the game. And then especially the legs. The game, I don't know if it's the stress of the game or walking up and down the sidelines or whatever the case might be, my legs feel like I played the game right after it. So it takes a little bit just kind of decompress. Maybe you jump online and maybe watch another game. Maybe I turn on a pro wrestling show and just kind of be for a little bit. Just something to kind of pass the time to allow myself to recover and get back in the frame of mind where I'll be able to do something productive.
That's actually kind of what I was trying to get at with you, because I know that there's a lot of people out there who just want to go. They want to be able to do the things that you're doing and go coach at a high level like Division II, or maybe it is in their other career field where they're wanting to go out there and be the best as possible. But there is a good balance between letting yourself kind of detox and take a deep breath. Do you have time to socialize? Talking to individuals. Do you and the coaching staff, I guess, would you say, hang out?
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
Yeah, we do. And we various times after games too, we go somewhere and just eat. It's been a couple hours since we've had food at that point, so let's go eat and get a chance to socialize. Now we're around each other so much anyway. We probably see each other more than we see our wives.
Yeah.
That part is real. So, but it's nice. It's nice to be able to turn it off every once in a while, jump off that hamster wheel, and see what's happening in real life.
Yeah.
So I for example, one time during training camp, you're so intense on that thing from 6 a.m. to about 11 p.m. 12 to midnight, that a lot of times what we'll do in my room, fullbacks and tight ends, we'll assign updates.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is different subjects. They got to tell me what's going on in the real world, since I'm not able to be a part of that during training camp.
I love that.
So they keep me up to date on important things like this day in Ashland history, or what's the weather going to be. What's happening in fashion and design, just things along those lines. Pro wrestling, what's happening in that.
I love it.
And it also keeps them light. It allows them to kind of feel comfortable amongst the group too. But sometimes you need that little extra to find out, hey, there is life going on besides outside the walls of the troop center.
Of course. Well, we got another question here from someone in the audience. Do you want to ask it?
So I was at the volleyball game on Friday, and I saw you and the guys come in and play. How important do you think it is for other student athletes to support other student athletes?
It's huge. It is flat out huge, and I think it's something special that we can do at AU. We got a big athletic department, and a lot of times we're our biggest own supporters. We need to be supporting other teams because those other teams are supporting us. They're at our games as well, and it's something neat to be able to do. That's the way I was brought up as a player. With the schools I went to, and coaching under Coach Owens, he preached doing things like that. So it's a nice tradition, and it's good in a lot of respects. Sometimes that football program is a leader on campus just by virtue of being a part of it. And if we can help spur on support for other sports by being there as well, so much the better. So much the better, and it helps that all the sports at AU compete at a very high level. So you're always going to see a great product.
Thank you.
Yep.
And Coach, the question coming in online was from Cam Blair. We talked about him an awful lot here today. When it comes down to his vocality as a leader, is it up there? Is he a high vocal leader? And if so, are there any other guys too that stand out in the locker room?
Yeah, he is a vocal leader. He's not afraid to hold people accountable. He's not afraid to speak when things need to be said. You look also on the team. You're looking at some of the other leaders on the team that are willing to be vocal. You have guys like Ethan Enders that are willing to be that guy and put themselves out there and hold people accountable. You have You know, guys like a Jack Talkington, you know, a Ben Holzaffel, even a Mike Shimmick. You know, as reserved as he is, he realizes when he speaks, his voice carries a lot of weight. And that's a very, very powerful weapon to have, okay? Maybe a Colin Remanowski is another guy. Okay. You know, you want to talk on the offensive side of the ball. Jet Joseph has really grown in that vein as well. Another maybe unsung one is Riley Weiss. Okay. Riley Weiss has been a tremendous leader for us too, and is willing to speak up in those situations. And we have captains meetings as well. You know, I give all those guys a chance to speak up and voice their opinion on different things. And those are the guys that are speaking up a lot. Guys that have been through the wars and they really have a stake in this season because this is their legacy. This 2025 team is their legacy. It's their last go around, and they want to maximize the results we have.
Yeah, you know, you have those vocal leaders. Are there any other guys in the locker room maybe that you've noticed that are vocal in a sense of being a class clown or trying to lighten the mood or have like that gravitation personality type of deal?
As far as, you know, keeping things light,
yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
we have guys like that. You know, I would say probably a Caden Riddle.
Okay.
Is, you know, from Clear Fork is one of those guys. I think you might be able to put Colin Remanowski in that. All right. In that group as well. Another guy that can keep it light but also, you know, be intense when he needs to is EJ Tia, who was on the show last week. Yeah. Javon Jackson is another guy that can keep it light. You know, so they understand a nice little balance between, hey, serious when we need to. When you might have time now to cut it up a little bit, kind of take some of the pressure off. They understand that, and they have a good feel for that.
Perfect, Coach. Well, that's all that we got for our Q&A segment. We'll step aside. We'll join you all back here soon. We're going to talk all about this upcoming game against Northwood and then wrap up the show. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. You're watching the Doug Geiser Show, Year 3, Episode 4.
Need a construction team that can do it all? Bo Lacey Construction delivers experience you can trust. Done right on time, with free estimates and special financing offered for roofing, siding, gutters, windows, bathrooms, decks, to the highest standards of excellence, quality, and knowledge in the industry. Bring your next project to life with Bo Lacey Construction.
Welcome back to the Doug Geiser Show, Year 3, Episode 4. I'm Cade Crackister alongside Coach Geiser, and now it's time to talk about Northwood. You know, we've gotten a little bit into the weeds a little bit with, you know, the players coming on today, the coaching staff, you know, getting their thoughts on Northwood. Let's hear yours. You know, you talked to me just now off air. You said you're already starting to watch a lot of film about them. You know, what stands out about Northwood?
I think that what stands out, you know, look at the tape, it's how hard they play. They are a very physical football team. They play with a lot of energy and a lot of passion. And, you know, they especially like to play well at home. They play at another level at home. So, you know, we're going into a hornet's nest on Saturday. And Dustin Buer is going to his third year, I believe, as a program. They made a jump last year from year 1 to year 2, and even bigger jump this year. So I anticipate, looking in the offseason, I figured they'd be one of the teams to beat in the GMAC, and their record at this point kind of bears that self out.
I was about to say too, they're a team that sometimes flies under the radar. They're in years past they've been just above that that middle mark where they can really squeak out some big wins and, fight all game long, and they've done that against you guys every time you guys have faced them pretty much. You talk about the GMAC as a whole, stepping back from Northwood for a second, but I feel like the GMAC, anyone can win on any given day.
That is true. That is true. And I know I was talking to Coach Buer on Sunday, and if I'm not betraying a confidence for this, but he made a comment that really the GMAC kind of reminds him of what the MAC used to be.
Yeah.
Where on any single day, any of the teams can knock off anybody else, and that I think there's a lot of validity in that. You got teams that have won at a high level, but the teams that are building the programs, you look at the Walshes, you look at the Northwoods, you look at the Thomas More, they've done a great job of stepping up their game in the last couple of years, and they're now in a position where they could be a favorite to win the conference this year.
Yeah.
Because of the way they played and the way they've improved, and it really challenges you, and it's a fun league to be a part of.
Yeah, you've always talked about Ohio Dominican. They're always the team that you love to face because you say that there's such a competitiveness with Ohio Dominican. Yeah. They were able to knock off Tiffin this past weekend. But now back to Northwood for a second. You talk about a team that has that chance to come out there and play really hard every game. Their quarterback, what's the deal with their quarterback?
We played against him the last couple of years. He is the unquestioned leader of their team and their offense. Tough. You can tell he's physically tough. You can see it on tape. He's mentally tough as well. He's definitely the conductor of that orchestra. And, he's the guy that's going to make their team go. And it's a guy we've got to be able to control. And that's, the teams that they played up to this point have had a hard time doing that.
Yeah, and there's something that stood out to me. You said it week 1 against IUP, and I noted it down, and I wanted to wait a good time to ask it. But you mentioned the saying execution over emotion. Going into week 1, you just got to execute there. Can't worry about the emotions of facing IUP on the road, and the fact that you guys at that point in time had never beaten IUP. How do you keep that same mentality going into a game like Northwood?
Well, it all comes down to preparation. Believe it or not, it's you try to take the emotion out of it because emotion can lie to you at times. But the thing that always travels will be your preparation. The guys, there's no substitute for coming in and watching the tape. You've got to watch the tape and know your opponent. You've got to be able to practice at a high level and get the physical reps, body-wise. So when you play on game day, you're just reacting.
Yeah.
You're not thinking, you're not analyzing, you're reacting because your preparation mentally and physically has put you in a position where you can play at your highest level and you can play fast. That's where all that stuff comes into play. Where emotion, you can start out high and you can play above your head for a bit. It's going to run out. It's going to run out at some point, but the preparation does rule the day on that.
Yeah, and what are your expectations for the offense? They really started to come out this last week. I know I said on the broadcast a lot, I've been saying it to you, I thought Cam Blair had an exceptional game against Hillsdale. How do you make sure that the offense stays flowing into week 4 now?
Well, the biggest thing we have to do is we have to study ourselves. Okay, we're studying Northwood right now, so kind of have an idea of what the system, what the style of their defense is going to be. What do they like to do situation-wise, field position-wise? What do they do best? Where are their strengths? But we also got to know ourselves. We got to know ourselves as well or better than Northwood does, because they're going to play our tendencies. They're going to know what we do well. Sometimes, in a lot of respects, they might know it better. So we got to make sure we understand who we are and put ourselves in a position where the things we do best fit against whatever they're giving us at that point in time.
Of course, and final thoughts, head into this Northwood game for Eagle Nation just to kind of have it in their head as well.
Yeah, this is a great challenge for us heading up to Northwood. I mean, this is a team. If you want to know how good they are in their rival game, which we had a rival game against Hillsdale this week, in their rival game against Saginaw for the Axe Bowl.
Oh wow!
They were up 35-0 on Saginaw's field at one point in the game. They ended up winning 38-14. That is an impressive win over a team that's perennially one of the top teams in the GLIAC. So if you want to know how good Northwood is, all you got to do is look at that game. And if you want any confirmation beyond that, it took us to the last play of the game last year to beat them. So that was on our field. So we're expecting a dogfight. And it's going to take all the preparation we have, and it's going to take us playing at our best to go up there and have a chance to challenge Northwood.
Yeah, the nice thing is that even though it is going to be a road matchup, we'll still have full coverage for you as Fox Sports 1340 WNCO. I couldn't remember if it was what the numbers were beforehand, but 1340 WNCO can bring all the coverage. How nice is it to have that coverage on the road?
It's amazing. It's amazing when you have guys that are really pros at this game. You're talking about Dave Wilson. You're talking about Don Graham. You're going to get good insights into the game. You got a guy that's been a part of the program forever in Don Graham. Yep. You got a very professional delivery with Dave Wilson and good insights from the various sports he's covered. you're going to get a good snapshot of what's actually happening on the field by listening to them.
Of course. Well, if you're going to be able to tune back into some home events coming soon, as a reminder, you can check it out on Rock Entertainment Sports Network and Flow College. We had a very professional broadcast on that end this past weekend. But also a big thank you to all of our various sponsors: Farmer State Bank, Simonson Construction, BCU Electric, Barefoot Floors, Don Graham and Associates. I think I just got all 5. I'm very impressed that I got all 5. And the Ashland University Journalism and Digital Media Department, which brings all those games, helps the coverage here at Buffalo Wild Wings in Ashland. But it really is a great community here with Ashland football.
It really is. There's a lot of people have a stake in this community. A lot of people want to help and support, and a lot of people live and die by the Eagles, no matter what the sport is. And I'm very, very blessed to be in the seat I am, be a part of a program that has that tradition and people that love the program. It's a very neat dynamic to be a part of.
Of course. Well, thank you to everyone out there tuning in. Thank you all that come out to Buffalo Wild Wings in Ashland. Thanks to the players that came on today and Coach Ashley. And thanks to you, Coach Geiser, for making another episode great here for year 3 of the Doug Geiser Show. I'm Cade Krakus signing off. We'll catch you guys for episode 5 coming your way next week. Don't go anywhere. We'll see you next time on the Eagle Network.